now that's passed. Okay, hi guys. Okay, so I'm getting a little too excited, I think, about research papers. Anyway, so I am creating a series of videos to help you guys out. So the first thing is that I asked classes today. So I had A classes today, not B classes. But I asked A classes today if they prefer to annotate and do all that online, or if you prefer to do it on paper. I'm a paper person, so that's why I even asked. And it was pretty much either I don't care or paper. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy all of the articles for you and all of the article summaries. And I'm going to make little packets for you. Okay, and I have the document number and all of that on top of it, but that way you can annotate them as you go. Okay, I know that's overwhelming for some of you, but just kind of put everything to the side, and then when I assign something, find the thing you put aside and grab that out only. Okay, so I think you need the papers though. I think it really helps. Okay, so, and I will be recording, like, so you can watch me do it, but I can't figure out how to make the hovercam record, so I have to figure that out, and then I can do that. So today I'm going to do it electronically, and then we'll go from there, okay? So we are doing our research paper over school shootings, and we are basically going to talk about why it's a problem, what causes the problem, what effects it has on people and in general, and then what the implications and solutions are to making that situation better, and the implications of what happens if we don't, or what could happen. So that's basically what our research paper is about. Now, here's the thing. When we're researching, there are 6 key ideas that go into most of what we're looking at. And most of the things to blame are social media. There's also school climate. So that would be like a lot of times school violence that you'll see, or bullying, or things like that. Then we have a whole thing about mental health. That's a huge one. And then there's other things like the key factors and some of the things that people have in common with each other, and that are similar, like the things that we find that we know are kind of what school shooters kind of have in common, even though there's no specific profile. And then we talk about guns in general and being exposed to violence. And then we talk about the law. So those are the major things that we're looking for in our articles. So you have colors that go with that. And these are the colors that go with that, as you can see. And it's also written on the back of each summary handout. You have what color to annotate them. Okay, so these are the colors to annotate, just so that when we go back to look at it, we can find anything that has to do with media is going to be highlighted in yellow. Okay, so the reason we do that is just to simplify things when we go to the research phase. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to annotate the actual article. So when you annotate the actual article, there's 3 things you need to do. And the first thing is you have to number every paragraph. And you start over on the second page. So we would annotate this with a 1, and then this with a 2, and then this with a 3, and then on the next page, this is a continuation of page 3, or paragraph 3, so we don't do anything. This is 4, this is 5, this is 6, and this is 7. So we got 7 paragraphs. The next thing you have to do is you have to go through and you have to denote all of the numbers and proper nouns. And when you do this on actual paper, you do it with circling. So for our purposes, what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight it. And it doesn't matter to me what color you highlight it in. So I am going to highlight it in yellow. Nope, not yellow, because I use that for something else. So I guess I do care. I'm going to highlight it in blue. So I'm going to just look for names and dates, and I'm going to highlight those. Okay, so Harvard University, I'm going to highlight that so I just know what the statistics are. We got some numbers there. Okay, So you have to highlight if you're going to do it electronically or if you're going to do it on paper. Circle all of the numbers and the proper nouns. Okay. Then after each section, so each thing that's bolded, I do it about every 5 paragraphs if it's not broken up like this. Just summarize in the margin, like what is it about? So it's a little bit harder to do on a doc. And I don't actually know how to do it quite right on a doc. I know how to do it in Word. But basically, you want to summarize it so that when you go back to it, you know what that paragraph is about. The other thing you have to highlight in yellow is you've got to highlight anything that's in quotes. So this is an actual quote by somebody. So we want to highlight that in yellow. So we know that quotes that are said by somebody are quotes that, put that in green. Those are quotes, for a direct quote from someone. Okay, so that's how we know that's a direct quote. Okay, so that's just the first part. All right, so that's the annotation part. And then we go to the research summary, which looks like this. So who's the author? You're going to go back to that, and you're going to find the author. For you guys, what I've done is in parentheses on each document up here, it tells you who the author is. So you'll fill that in by putting in Seeger, and then what's the title of the article? Again, you'll go back to it, and it says America's Killing Contagion. You'll put that down. When was it published? Go back to the article, and it says September 7th, 2015. And then it says what's the name of the publication, theweek.com, and what's the main idea of the article. You have to read it and then just write down the main idea. And then the document number for this, you go over to it, and it says document A. Okay, so you'll put document A. All right, so then this is the part where people are like, well, do we have to do the rest of it? Yes, you have to do the rest of it. This is going to help us. Okay, so you're going to summarize. So you're going to say, generally, the argument of this, the author. Okay, so you'll put Mike Seeger. That's it. That's all you put for number 1. And number 2, you say the argument he makes is, and then if you're looking at that particular article, it talks about, let me get to that. I wrote, it's an overall review of the issues. There are so many factors that it's hard to pinpoint one issue or one factor that a school shooter has. And there's multiple things. There's nothing really in common that they have. So that's what I have for that. And then specifically here, she argues that the U.S. has 5 times the number of mass shootings and that guns are roughly 1 per person in America. Then I said this passage sticks out to me because I'm sorry, I said those backwards. Specifically, he argues that mental health and gun reform are the 2 largest to blame, but there is no definitive right way. And then the passage that sticks out to me is that it's 1-to-1. And then I put I agree with the main author when he or she writes, the 4 main factors are revenge, seeking attention, looking for fame, and blaming mental illness. So those are the things that I agree with. So that would be number 5. And then number 6, I disagree. You should have something you disagree with. Don't be contrary just to be contrary. But what about the argument do you disagree with? What is there something that like they're leaving out or they're not saying or is a little unclear? So I have I think it's an issue that he is attributing the violence and the shootings to guns per capita, because I don't think that that's necessarily part of why. And you'll understand later when we go through a lot of the other research. Okay, so then the activities list, which is down below, you're just going to put down an interesting quote. So one of those things we just highlighted in yellow, you're going to put there. Then you're going to write down why it's interesting to you. What's anything you learned from the article? So I put that the American dream is that you can come to America and you can achieve anything if you work hard enough. And what this article is really saying is that that's not necessarily true. And that's what causes a lot of people to have entitlement, and that's what causes people to have rage. So that's one thing I learned. And why is this information important to me? because I think that that explains a lot about where we are as far as entitlement and as far as expectations of what we deserve versus what we work for. Another thing that I learned is that American exceptionalism denies the following. What does that say? Oh, guns, fame, and eliminated men. And I said it's important because it shows how the I don't have my glasses on. It shows how the something is playing out with masculinity to ask for help and the need to feel important and be in control. So basically, the idea is that I said, men can't ask for help. They can't. They're told since they're little that it's not okay to ask for help, and that if they have mental health issues that they're not supposed to talk about it and things like that. And I think that's an important issue that this article gets into. So then at the bottom of there, it tells you what color to annotate things. So when you go back to your article, you're going to look for all things that have to do with mental health and the background of the life of school shooters. Okay, so when you go through that, I found when he talks to why do they turn to violence, I put this as one of the reasons. I put that down as background. And then I said treating mentally ill people right here. I said that had to do with mental illness, this whole thing. So I highlighted that in pink. And then one of the other things we had to highlight is laws and legalities, and that's highlighted in orange. And so in the same section, I put this deeply embedded in that part. I put that in orange. Then there was another, the availability of guns. I thought that was having to do with guns, obviously, and the availability of them, and then, or laws, I guess. And then yellow was media's role, and then I highlighted these are very public attacks. Where was that? Okay, so that they killer the fame that eluded him in failed life. So that's about like why a shooter does it, why they are looking for fame. And then green is stressors or key ideas. And so I put that one of the things is they're in real pain. And they can't really find the help that they need. So I put that down for stressors, behaviors, and key factors. And then blue has anything to do with violence, guns, gun safety, gun reform. So those things that I highlighted in orange, those could also potentially be highlighted in blue. But I had a lot highlighted in blue already on the front. So I highlighted this actual quote that was quoted. I actually highlighted that in blue because I think that has to do with the violence. And then down here where it talks about in the 239 days, that's the same thing. There have been that many shootings. And then I also highlighted the U.S. has 5 times more than the Philippines. I highlighted that in pink, or blue rather, and then the U.S. that part I highlighted in blue. And then I think the last one was purple, contagions, reasons, or statistics. So I looked for stuff on statistics, and this one doesn't have a whole lot of statistics. Its main its main statistic is up here where it says that the 1-to-1 this part. So I mean, I'll go ahead and like change that to purple, but it doesn't really matter. So basically I want to have a bunch of different colors. I would like to have 5 per each article because that means that I'm hitting all, not 5, 6. That means I'm hitting all 6 areas. Okay, because we have pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And those are our main ideas. And that way, when we cover our main ideas, when we go to write our note cards, it's already done. Okay, so every night, what you're going to do is you are going to annotate the article. You're going to do first annotations, which is number them. After you number them, you're going to go through and circle or highlight all of the numbers and proper nouns. Then after you do that, you're going to highlight in yellow all of the direct quotes, so anything with quotation marks around it in the article. Put it to the side. Then you're going to do the worksheet article, and you're going to do the first part, which asks you all the bibliographical information, so like who the author is, all that stuff. Okay. Then you're going to write down what you agree with and what you don't agree with, and why, and what are some interesting parts, what you learned. Then what you're going to do is you are going to pull out direct quotes that you find really interesting, and then you're going to write down 2 things that you learned from the article or that are new to you. Then you go through and you highlight all of your colors. So you're going to do this for every article, and I know it's a lot, but we're going to do it all this week, because if we do it all this week, then we're going to get easier week next week. So I promise you, this will be the hardest week as far as doing a lot of stuff. So what this means is that the document A is due today for both A and B classes. Tomorrow, document B will be due for both A and B, etc. Okay, so it's due for both classes. It is not, okay, A is working on this, but I'm at home on remote, so I'm not going to worry about it. No, if you're at home, you're doing the same thing that everybody in class is doing. So I'm going to make up a calendar so you can see what we're doing when, and you can work ahead if you want or anything like that. And I'm also going to create the packet of all the articles for you so you have all of those things. Okay, so I know it's kind of a little bit heavy, a little bit complicated, and a little bit of a lot of different information you're disseminating, but it's really important that you do it. I've tried to keep all the articles down to less than 3 pages, which I don't think is too bad to have to read that in a night. So think about the research that we're doing as a DBQ like you would do in history, except we're going to call them EBCs, which means evidence-based claim. So what you're going to do is you are going to take all this evidence that we have and you're going to create a claim about, well, what does this mean? Now that you have all this information, so what? And we're going to decide what our claim is, and then we're going to prove it by using our research. Okay, so there's a lot of steps there. You've got to stay with class. If you are finding yourself unmotivated, you're going to have to find a way to like, get a dedicated space and work. And there's not a lot of class time to work on it. You're going to have to do a lot of it for homework. And because there's an article due every day, you can't depend on your remote day. So keep all of that in mind. If you get behind, it's going to really mess you up later. Okay, so don't forget that it's due, and don't think I'll do it later and all of that, because before you know it, it's later and you've got 8 articles you have to annotate in one night. That's not good. Okay, so I hope that answers all of your questions, and if not, hit me up and I will answer your questions if I can. Okay, see you later.